Hi book friends, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Read. This is my belated TBR as it is already December 3rd. I'm going to start off with the books that I am currently reading, and then I will go into the books that I plan to read for the rest of the month. First off, my husband and I are reading WIldwood by Colin Meloy together. It is a middle grade fantasy adventure book that takes place in and on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. Our main character, Prue, she's between 10 and 12, and she takes her baby brother, who's like 1 year old, takes her baby brother out for the day, running some errands, and then to the park. And while they're at the park, the baby brother is abducted by a murder of crows and taken off to the impassable wilderness, which is an area of dense forest that the people don't go in. Thus it is known as the impassable wilderness. Prue, along with a classmate of hers, Curtis, go off into the impassable wilderness, being able to pass into it, and set out to find her baby brother. And we are then thrust into this world and come to gain an understanding of the different factions that live there and what all is happening in there, and hopefully Prue is going to be able to save her baby brother. I'm also still reading Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope. I would really love to finish this book this month, and now that, pray to God, my husband stays out of the hospital, I will have more time to actually dig into this. And then I have just started The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. She was the author of The Night Circus. In this, we follow our main character, Zachary, as he encounters a book in the school library that has no title, it has no author, it does not scan into the library system. He's very intrigued by this book, and then he finds a story about his own childhood in this book, and thus kind of begins the adventure that he will go on. There have been some allusions to the Starless Sea so far. Don't really know what it is yet, but I'm imagining some sort of a magical realm. I also just started on an audiobook this morning, Louise Penny's A Brutal Telling, which is book 5 in the Armand Gamache series. The rest of the books will all be books that I plan on reading. A few of them are for read-alongs, and the rest, including the Louise Penny book, are for Cloak and Dagger Christmas, basically a mystery readathon month with a host of booktubers, which I will link below. The first is the Booktube Common Read. This is brought about by Olive at A Book Olive, and this is in response to some controversy that happened starting at a university in South Dakota, I believe. I'm not going to go into the whole controversy, whatever it is. It has nothing to do with the specific book we're reading, but I will link Olive's video about that in case you're wondering. But the point of the whole controversy was to read books that are important. And that important book that we are going to be reading together is Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. And this is a look from a lawyer's perspective of justice and mercy, from someone who has witnessed the failures of the American justice system. And then Kate over at Kate Howe, one of the mavens of Victober, wants to spread out the Victorian love throughout the year, not just during Victober. And so she is hosting a read-along of Silas Marner by George Eliot. This will be my first George Eliot book. Silas Marner, our main character, is wrongly accused of theft. He loses everything, including his faith in God. He moves away, hoping to have a fresh new start somewhere else. He gets into work, and then he meets a little girl, wanders along, and they develop a relationship, like a father-daughter type of relationship, and things start to get better. And then the child's father shows up and wants the child back. And we experience the ups and downs of Silas Marner's life, and then we have this intergenerational relationship too between Silas and the little girl. Kate Howe is also hosting a year of Louisa May, where every month we read it's kind of a Louisa May Alcott book club, where every month we'll read a different book by Louisa May Alcott. And in December we start with Little Women. Now I literally just picked up this copy. I saw this copy as well as these other two. This is a Little Women, Under the Lilacs, and 8 Cousins, and these really beautiful editions that will just look so nice on my shelves. They have some illustrations, if I can find one. There are some illustrations on the inside, and I think this will just be a really nice way to enjoy a classic. I believe that this is not the edition. I don't believe that this one contains Good Wives. I do have a Penguin Clothbound classic that includes Little Women and Good Wives in one volume, and I do not have Little Wives here in these editions. But anyway, so I will be reading Little Women. And then Kate Howe, who seems to be dominating the end of my year, but that's okay, is one of the hosts of Cloak and Dagger Christmas. The purpose of Cloak and Dagger Christmas is essentially to read mysteries in December. There are prompts for this. I'm not going to follow the prompts. I'm just going to read some mysteries that I've been wanting to read. The first is the next in the Flavia De Luce mystery novels that I have to read by Alan Bradley, and this is I'm Half Sick of Shadows, and this is the first one I'm going to get to read in these beautiful naked hardbacks, and I've been waiting to read this one because it looks Christmassy. So I would have read this earlier, but I was specifically waiting till December to read this. And Flavia is a young girl who lives in a big manor house and basically just can't keep her nose out of whatever business is going on. She basically outfoxes the local police whenever there's a crime. Then we have The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith, second in the Cormoran Strike novels, and I imagine the relationship between Cormoran and Robin is going to maybe heat up in this one. And then in this beautiful vintage modern classics edition, I have Daphne DuMaurier, The Birds and Other Stories. This is a bind-up of 6 of Daphne DuMaurier's short stories. And then a nonfiction mystery choice I have, which I will enjoy on audiobook after I read The Brutal Telling, is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, and this is Michelle McNamara's hunt for the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer was a serial killer and I believe a rapist who was committing his murders in the 70s in Northern California. In the area that I grew up in and still live. One of the murders actually happened in the neighborhood where my mom's family lived. My mom wasn't living there at the time, but my aunt was, and it was very traumatic for her and for all, especially young women at the time. He ended up being captured, unfortunately, after Michelle McNamara's death, in the neighborhood across the street from my parents' neighborhood. So the neighborhood across the street where I grew up, just a 2-lane road dividing his neighborhood from my neighborhood. And the same aunt who lived in the neighborhood of one of the murder victims also lived in the same neighborhood of where the Golden State Killer was actually captured. My sister and I, when we were kids, used to ride our bikes from our house to our aunt and uncle's house, driving right by this guy's house. So kind of crazy, but yeah, I want to dig into that story a little bit and learn more about it. So this is my ambitious December TBR. It is quite wobbly here. I'd love to know if you've read any of these books. Are you participating in Cloak and Dagger Christmas or any of the other read-alongs? Thank you for watching. See you around the tubes.